Okay, all right. Go. All right, well, welcome everybody. I know that Brenna will be late, and I'm sure that the exiting trustees probably decided they didn't need this half hour, but we'll welcome them back in here at about 6:30. So Patrick Rondinelli, he is the regional manager for DOLA, Department of Local Affairs. And you can find that on, you can Google it, it's about the easiest, or go to the Colorado Gov site and look for the departments. It'll be under the Department of Local Affairs. So there's quite a few departments under Department of Local Affairs. However, I think that Patrick is always a valuable resource, and at some point, it's always good to welcome him in, have him do the presentation, and CIRSA, the insurance company, would also be a good presentation. And typically they're going to explain to you the liability that you can take on as elected officials and what you should and shouldn't do. So we'll see if Sam Light typically does those presentations. Over the last 2 years, there's been a lot of video. Virtual, so we'll kind of see what happens here this next year. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on DOLA's mission statement. However, there are 4 classes of municipal government, and the town of Bayfield is a statutory town. So the statutory town, we're empowered by the state statute populations under 2,000 at the time of incorporation. So like the city of Ouray, they were a big silver mining area, and when they incorporated, they had quite a few more than 2,000 people, but now they're back down to 1,000 people in Ouray. So just kind of gives you an idea that you as a statutory town could still decide that you'd like to be a city. However, we're going to get into that a little bit more regarding home rule. So the mayor presides over the meetings of the board. The Board of Trustees are 6, and you reside within the town for at least 1 year. And of course, we went through all that when you signed your petition to determine if you were eligible to be a trustee. So I'm assuming we're all good. The town clerk is determining the specific duties and responsibilities of the officers. And of course, in more modern times, it's usually the town manager and mayor. We kind of work on that cooperatively, and you as a board, we're also looking for your input for that as well. So statutory towns, there's a treasurer, a town attorney, a municipal judge, a town marshal, and a town administrator. And you'll get to know a lot more of us as the months go by. Your marshal, I did see him drive in. He may have left. Kathy Cathcart is our town clerk and finance director. I've been your town manager. You can also consider me a town administrator. Michael Goldman is your town attorney. Currently right now, Sean Davlin is the judge, and he was just appointed when Jim Casey retired, and it's still up to you to decide if you'd like to appoint him for another 2 years. Your code does allow you to appoint a judge for 2 years. The rest of the officers are 1-year appointments. So I took out the big square there regarding statutory cities because it really does not apply to Bayfield. So a home rule municipality can be any size. Provides more flexibility. The one way that you have a home rule charter is you first of all have an election to vote for a home rule charter committee, and then that committee is usually 7 to 9 people, and they develop a charter for the town, and then at some point that charter would be there would be an election for that charter, and basically it could be a change in how trustees how many trustees, or how the mayor votes, or all kinds of things about management and your local control, so how you want to manage your streets. It always can be more restrictive than state statute. There are some things that you can actually adopt that are a little bit different than state statute, but typically you're going to always hear from your town attorney in a home rule. But at this case, because you are statutory, your attorney is always going to go back to the state statutes. So the roles and responsibilities as elected officials, and we're going to go through those. The elected officials, you set policy. You use enabling authority and statutes to protect public interest. So in other words, you may have ordinances that it's our requirement to implement those. I've always said that ordinances are the rule of law, and policies are really the rule for staff. So, so when you are thinking about which direction we're going to go, when we adopt ordinances, sometimes we're assuming like we're going to adopt an infrastructure design standards. Maybe we're going to determine that that's basically applicable to the developers, but also staff is also has to follow that as well and make sure that we're implementing that. So fiduciary responsibilities, we'll start on a 2023 budget in probably the end of June or around July. That's about a 2 to 3 month process that we'll go through and establish. We'll look at different operations at time, but it's your responsibility to make sure that whatever we're spending, we have revenue or reserves for those expenditures. The appointment of certain staff and boards that will further mission the community. You have a couple appointments tonight. There's things like the Southwest Broadband Committee. There's other things that we may be working on that we may ask elected official to attend some of those meetings. And then provide direction and ongoing two-way communication. The elected official roles. As a member of the town board, it is important that you do not favor any particular special interest. Not use this board for your own personal advantage, for the advantage of financial friends or supporters. And there's going to be a time where we may say that, you know, we'll talk to the attorney about the fact that maybe this is a time to recuse yourself because there is a special interest. You have a financial interest in decision that may be made. Typically, we call that recusing yourself, and we'll usually ask, or the mayor will say, now we'll just ask you to leave the room, because you shouldn't be in the back of the room going, oh, vote yes, oh, vote no. So typically, it's just basically polite to basically leave the room, and I know some of our elected officials here today have had to do that, so. Keep privileged information confidential, so there will be times where you'll get confidential information, and it is your responsibility to keep that confidential. Approach all board issues with an open mind. I know that you're here to support your community, and that's what we expect. Never exercise authority as a board member except when acting in a meeting with the full town board unless delegated by the town board. So I've certainly been in this job for quite a few years in other places, and it really is detrimental when one individual town board will go out and make promises, and then the whole board or the staff is trying to say, we don't know that that's what we're supposed to do, but now we have the public riled up because they're going one direction and staff and the rest of the board may be going a different direction. Key elements to consider. Leadership, you will be a leader whether you like it or not. So appreciate that your service and stepping up in this role. Any change is disruptive, even if it's the right thing to do. You're mandated by the law to make decisions that impact people's lives. I mean, we know that every day. Agree to disagree. A position is a 24/7 obligation. Information analysis. Information is a key, and you will get a lot of staff information, especially in land use. Sometimes the packets can be fairly cumbersome, but we are still here to answer those questions should you have, want clarification on something on the agenda. So the key elements to consider: be professional. In the business, perception is reality. Respect each other as professionals. Confidentiality. Be a positive ambassador for the community and avoid surprises. So the one thing that sometimes we'll get is we may get a surprise. You're asking us a question that we don't have our financial software open. We're not able to answer those questions. So it helps you and the public know that we have a response to their question if you'll get with us maybe before a meeting. Or anytime when there's not necessarily a meeting item, ask those questions. That's what we're here for as staff. I've always said as a town manager, I want you to feel free to ask staff questions, but you always want to be careful in actually giving direction. So plowing your driveway is something that they're going to come back and say, hey, I just got asked to plow somebody's driveway. And I've certainly been in that position where I'll have staff go by, so I'll help you out. It's like, oh no, I know how to shovel. Because I'm just like any other citizen, and I don't have any shouldn't get any special treatment. So it's public service. We know that you'll be involved in this process. Be careful of overextending yourself. So there'll be a lot of meetings that we'll ask you to step up to. It's fair to say I just can't do that. And I think that's fair to know when you can't do something versus we're just assuming that you're taking care of that, and then we find out that it's not getting done. So that's things that you can, talk to the mayor. Maybe it's something we just give back to staff to take care of. Use your professional organization. So there's quite a few organizations that maybe you haven't had the opportunity to get to know. Alexis, Lori, and Eli, and Ashley, you'll be going to CML. So you'll get to meet a lot of these organizations to find out how you can get more support. I'm not going to go through a leader who cares. I know you care because you stepped up to this position, but there's quite a few bullet points that I'm sure Patrick would go through with you. So advisory boards and commissions, basically to advise the town board. Advisory boards are not authorized to make decisions on behalf of the town board. The town board may or may not take action that is agreement with the advice of an advisory board. I've had it in positions where certain advisory committees felt degraded because they didn't get, the board didn't adopt what they wanted to, but that's what you're elected for. So there are times where you're going to disagree with other advisory boards. Advisory boards may not speak for the town board or take independent positions. Same thing, not only as an elected official, but individual advisory board members should not be saying things for the town. So the Planning Commission, in Bayfield's case, the bylaws ask for the mayor to serve on the Planning Commission and then an ex officio to serve on the Planning Commission. That is not always, that still can be defined by the board if you so choose. I thought I'd let you know that we're trying to plan a May 31st meeting. Kind of a joint meeting with the Planning Commission and the Board of Trustees, basically to have, kind of, we have a lot of land use applications, but maybe this is a good time to do some planning and reviewing of the things that we're doing regarding our master plan. So we'll make sure that we get that on the schedule. Apply current policy, prepare and recommend the master comprehensive plan. So we will be looking at review of our master plan, apply current policy and regulations, provide technical expertise on planning, review development applications, regularly assess planning policies and regulations, making recommendations, serve as a voice of the community on land use. So you're going to see a lot of land use applications, and we understand that some of these meetings may go long, and there's always a time where this is a good time to say, maybe I need to meet with Nicole. Maybe a phone call isn't going to do what I need to do. So the role as the town manager, I do prepare the budget. We have had kind of a turnover in finance directors. So this will be Kathy's kind of first real opportunity to participate in that as well. I know, she's so excited. I do recruit and hire. Terminate and supervise staff. So in the past, you're going to make certain appointments. I've been in the position where I've had to fire one of the board's appointments, and the board actually had to ratify that removal of that appointment. That gets a little tricky, But I think that we need to have good communication about what you're expecting, especially from your appointed officials. So I do serve as the town's chief advisor, but I'm here to listen to you probably more than anything to find out what the community needs and wants. I carry out the board's policies, and I also direct the staff to carry out those policies. Provide complete and objective information about local operations. I've always said the elected officials are the voice of the voters, and I'm usually the voice of the operation. So sometimes we're not going to always agree on everything, but that's why we have to have good communication. I discuss the pros and cons on alternatives. There's sometimes I may not even see a con. So it's always good for even the staff sometimes to point things out. There may be more that we need to consider. I do serve at the pleasure of the governing body. My performance evaluation is in November. I was actually hired in April 2 years ago. But at this time, my contract basically, that's the annual review is in November. I do work as an exempt salaried employee. I make policy recommendations to the board for consideration. And of course, I always look for staff for their recommendation as well. Then we need to make some changes in our policy. Is bound by whatever action the town takes. So if you take an action, I'm here to support it. I shouldn't be out there mouthing off that I didn't like it. That's not my role. I do have to support it. I'm going to maybe make a appeal that maybe I don't feel that's a good appeal during a meeting, but once you've adopted it, you've adopted it. So on the next square, there's kind of the role of the board, and the role of the manager, what on the left side, what the board's role are and what the manager's role are, and I'm just going to skip that specific piece. So I do hire the staff. There are times where I may have an elected official as part of an interview committee, but obviously it can't be an interview committee of 3 or more, just because then it becomes a public meeting. The staff does serve at the direction of the town manager. I provide, the staff provides technical expertise and guidance. You have a lot of certified employees. Your town clerk is also a certified clerk. Nicole, your community development director, has her, I'm going to get the initials are on AICP credentials. So, we've spent your staff has spent a lot of training. And your marshal and obviously his deputies go through a lot of training as well. And then I advise the boards and commissions and elected officials. So I do provide advice to the other boards that may be out there. So there's just a little statement about the 3 characteristics of a highly effective board's ability elected officials to deal with the issues as a team, willingness to address difficult issues, successful relationships with professional staff. So the citizens, we want citizens to participate fully. Advise the appointed and elected officials, not always politely, but we do have on the back of your agenda, there's the resolution basically of the city or the town's decorum during meetings. So sometimes that may help. The citizens will ask questions and offer solutions sometimes. And we always encourage citizens that have a question to ask to come to town hall and schedule a meeting with any one of us. We'll be happy to schedule with them. And of course, applicants, they learn to respect the adopted rules and processes. They expect a fair and predictable process, and you've got a lot of them coming. And that's our goal, to make sure they know what's coming, what they have to do, what we require them to do. And they should not work the system. So you're going to find a developer is not going to like the fact that Nicole said such and such, or Jeremy said such and such. So that's what we call shopping. Be very careful when they're shopping, trying to convince you that either they're being overcharged or whatever else. There's nothing wrong with saying the citizen has come to us and they're asking about this, and we'll try to provide you basically information about what's going on. I have had cases where they come to me and I say, well, here's the facts that I know about anyway. And like, oh, okay. And sometimes I may hear things that, well, maybe my staff has said to somebody that I need to go verify as well. Communicate issues and concerns to staff, appointed elected officials as far as the applicants, and they will. Have a realistic expectation and understanding the role of government. We are here for public safety, and so there are some things that they don't want to do. That's going to happen. So those constraints, you are a volunteer for the most part. We understand that. There's some meetings that you're going to think, wow, I spent a lot of time for $150 a month. Those are, we do understand you're a volunteer. There may be vague tasks and role definition at times. I have found in home rule, some home rule charters, they actually define exactly what the trustee's role is or what the mayor's role is very specifically. Of course, the voters adopt those. Little fee big. Sometimes it's hard for feedback. You may get people that come up here and during the public comment time and want to get response back. We try to make sure that we're writing things down if we can respond to it. Sometimes we don't always know what the issue is. So you want to be careful in that back and forth because it can turn into a debate up here when maybe we just need to get more information and provide that. And open meeting requirements. Previously last year, I want to say maybe it was a year and a half ago, state statute does allow emails basically out to all of you to say, we're trying to schedule, this joint work session, or we're trying to schedule something else, and it allows basically back and forth. But anytime it has anything to do with there's a decision to be made, not just a meeting to attend or what time the meeting's going to be, those are you're going to get typically from me as a blind copy because we're asking you not to be sharing this information with all the trustees. And then we're going to get into ex parte here as probably as soon as we can. So there are obstacles in a partnership. You may not always see yourself as a team. I think part of the pandemic has been kind of tough because all of our typical relationship builders have not been possible here in this last couple of years. So it's even been difficult for staff. We've had to find new ways to communicate and learn how to be a team. Difficulty moving on. Maybe it's a very contentious issue that 2 or 3 trustees feel that, I just adamantly don't feel that they made the right choice. However, it is a 4-3. I mean, there's 4 that in favor. We kind of ask that, if something has to come back for some reason, that's one thing. But when the decision's made by this board, even if it's not a majority, is something that we just kind of ask that we move on. Board staff, we don't always speak the same language. I know there's times we're going to talk about water and CFS and acre feet and gallons per minute and things like that. We're going to use acronyms and you're like, what the heck are they talking about? And please stop us, because sometimes we forget that these are acronyms we understand, but not everybody has a good understanding. Sunshine law, all meetings with a quorum of 4+ members were formal action. I would always say probably 3+. It gets too easy. Business will be discussed must be open to the public. Public notice required for meetings where formal action business, so we are required to post an agenda 24 hours before any decisions are made. You may have another discussion, but I always say if you're going to make a decision on something, it should be posted 24 hours in advance. And any time you meet should be posted 24 hours in advance. We do have a decorum policy, and we also, you want to be careful with email and social media. Maybe you disagree with something that the board or staff has been. So we certainly, sometimes if we feel like it's kind of went out of the range of, we may talk to our town attorney, say, you know, maybe this is a time where you talk to the mayor, or maybe the mayor brings this elected official in, or it is the mayor. So, you know, that maybe these are things that we need to tone down a little bit. But that's really, we kind of leave that up to, a lot of that up to our attorney as well. So you're going to get an agenda, copy of the minutes, and backup material. And like I said, there was one packet that was over 300 pages. And we understand how long that can be. I try to get it out on Thursday, but there are times that I can't get it out. But a goal is to get it out Thursday so you at least have some time to review it. Types of meetings. You have a regular meeting. The board of the Bayfield does have 2 regular meetings, first Tuesday and third Tuesday of the month. You can always change that. There will be special meetings from time. There may be special work sessions. And then you may have a one-on-one meeting. Types of meetings for elected officials. So executive session. You know, these are things that are ruled by state statute, whether you're home rule statutory town. Basically, and I'm not going to go through all the bullet points, but we're going to be very cognizant of announcing what we're going into executive session. We're also going to announce why you shouldn't be talking about other things in executive session. And then, you know, at any time, a board member can say, wait a minute, we're getting off this topic, and we need to bring it back to the reason that we went into executive session. So the elements for effective meeting, I know that the mayor, as you know, after 2 years, we've really impressed with her leadership and basically to move things along. So, you know, at any time you feel like maybe the meeting is not moving at the speed you want, it's really good to have a conversation with the mayor. Rules of order, like I said, we do have decorum, and that resolution 493 is attached to the back of the agenda. Motions, I do provide recommended motions, but those are recommendations from me. You don't have to accept those recommendations. When I feel that there's going to be a contentious something, an item that I feel that there's going to be 3 options or 2 different options, I may put 2 or 3 different recommended motions, but keep in mind those are only recommendations. So there is types of action. Legislative. So I always say legislative is any policy that you're going to make, basically to make it a municipal code or a resolution or make decisions. The one thing that is not, that you need to be very careful about, is quasi-judicial. So quasi-judicial is when you're acting as a judge in certain cases. So in other words, it's liquor licenses, it's land use applications. I always say anytime somebody is submitted a fee in an application, that almost is automatically quasi-judicial. And if you're not too sure, please let us know. So sometimes what will happen is going to be maybe a Walmart's going to come to Bayfield, and we have an application submitted. And then you get information about why there should be a Walmart or why there shouldn't be a Walmart, or what about the Walmart. And so I always say, tell that person very politely, if you would like me to vote on it, please come to the meeting and express your opinion, because if I hear it now, I may have to recuse myself during the vote, and I may not be able to proceed with your wishes because that hasn't been held in a public hearing. So in other words, that applicant isn't sitting in the same room hearing that same information and able to respond to that. And so what we call that is if you start talking about a Walmart in the grocery store, and maybe the owner of the grocery store is saying, I don't want a Walmart because it's going to put me out of business, and there's already an application, what we call that is ex parte. So what that means is that you've gone outside of the public meeting and you're hearing from the grocery store owner that says, I don't want a Walmart here, and these are my reasons why. So So what will happen is that it's only ethical for you basically to come back and say, you know, I got into a conversation about why there shouldn't be a Walmart, and you may be asked to recuse yourself and maybe leave the room if we feel that it was enough of a conversation that it's going to pull the board one way or the other in this conversation. There's going to be a lot on ex parte that you're going to hear, seeing as we have a lot of land use applications. You may be, I'll just take the mayor as an example. The mayor was going to get a pre-annexation agreement approved by the Board of Trustees. It was a conflict of interest because she financially would receive some benefit from this decision being in the affirmative. So she recused herself as a conflict of interest. We asked that you announce that at the beginning of the meeting, and then when that agenda comes up, she would leave the room. And so that would be how that happens. I know that we're at 6:30, past 6:30. I'm not going to go through all the other scenarios that were in here. Instead of guessing what guess is, you know, like the scenarios, what you should be doing, I just put a star by what I felt should have been the right response. So you can certainly go through those. I know that you have a lot of resources here in Bayfield, and I've certainly asked that you consider reaching out when you need assistance. The attorney, I've always said that the attorney works for you. If you feel that there's something you would like to ask the attorney, and maybe I'm involved, then you probably need to go directly to the mayor and directly to the attorney. If for some reason it's about something else, please get us involved as staff and myself. If I feel the mayor shouldn't be involved, then I'll just go directly to the town attorney. And of course, he'll advise me, maybe I need to talk to that trustee face-to-face or on the phone. So, right. I'm going to ask you if you have questions, but I will certainly go ahead and sit down unless there's...
All right, so we will go ahead and get prepped for our regular board meeting if you guys would like to switch seats.
She's telling us to leave.
Musical chairs. It's just a game.
Is David coming?
I saw him out in the
Fire, how are you, Nicole?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You can leave that there for now. It's okay.
They're happy they've come. Yeah, congratulations.
Tuesday's pretty good. Tuesdays. I know. Not like it's an exciting night, but.
Hour and a half long yoga class on
Oh,
Wednesday
nice.
nights now that I'm like
Good.
changing it with. So inspired to stay in touch with a little self-love. I know.
Yeah. I was kicked off of Facebook yesterday for saying the truth.
Give you guys a minute here.
Facebook's like too keen on truth these days.
What do you even need a computer for? Let me know when you're up and going there, David.
Go ahead.
You ready? Everybody ready? I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order dated Tuesday, April 5th, 2022. The time is now 6:36. Roll call.
Trustee Black.
Here.
Trustee Dallison.
Here.
Trustee Joswick. Trustee Moreland.
Here.
Trustee Politis.
Here.
Trustee Cesaro.
Here.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Here.
All present.
Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
All right, do we have any conflicts of interest to announce at this time? Seeing none, we will move on to general public input. If any members of the audience have anything they would like to address to the board, not pertaining to items on the agenda, please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. Am I on? Does it matter? Well, I know we're going to welcome new board members, but I also wanted to thank the exiting board members, and then also thank the current board members that are going to stick around. My name is Kat Katzos, 525 Dove Ranch Road. And I thought for the incoming board members, I should introduce myself. I sent out a letter to everybody this week, and so that's who I am. In the letter, I wanted to send you a summary about the Southwest Water Conservation District's annual meeting that I attended last Friday on April 1st. The seminar's theme was navigating shortage. I've been on a quest to learn all that I can about the Los Pinos water basin supply, Bayfield's share of that supply, and whether Bayfield has implemented water sustainability measures. And I want to applaud the town for establishing the drought management plan of 2021. That plan is a reactive plan, necessary, absolutely. But Bayfield should also have a proactive water sustainability management plan. I am by nature a proactive person. I'm one of those crazy people that gets their car maintained at the intervals before necessary and on and so forth. So I live by a proactive lifestyle. And in our home, we say plan for the best, but be prepared for the worst. So here I am. With all the ongoing information about the fact that the western United States has fallen into water distress and with no end in sight, I wanted to learn how Bayfield can be progressive and proactive, creating a water sustainability plan. In short order, every presenter at that meeting is one of us. They're from the Southwest. And they live here. If you were to take their entire body of experience, it would equal hundreds of years of Southwest water experience and knowledge. Farmers, ranchers, water managers, water compact director, climatologists, researchers, and water educators spoke. And I'm not kidding when I tell you, as each one went to the podium, they paused and said, well, listen, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we got it. It's bad news. And they weren't being dramatic. They were being quite serious. So it is one of those things where I look at what's coming, the possible 42% increase of land development for our community, both what's currently in the pipeline and what will potentially be in the pipeline. And I want to know about the stresses, the additional stresses on our water supply. It's important to understand that I'm not talking about our wonderful new water treatment plant and its ability to process and store water, nor am I talking about water shares or rights, but how much water will we have from our one source via Cedar Reservoir in the future. As an example, the upper Colorado River Basin delivers water to the lower Colorado River Basin, and with the call last summer came from the lower basin to the upper basin, which is Lake Powell and Mead, to send more water through the pipeline. We don't have an upper basin to fall back on if we fall short. I've shared with Ms. Killian my amazing guiding document that I discovered called, and it was developed by the Colorado Land Use Law Center and Western Resource Advocates, titled Integrating Water Efficiency into Land, Using Planning in the Interior West. This document was created with over 20 years of research and implementation methods. Communities all over Colorado use this tool to integrate water sustainability for their communities. Colorado has taken water shortage and sustainability to task. Yet there is still much for us to do. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can look to others who have gone before us and seek location communities and model ourselves after them, or even along the way add or modify what is good for Bayfield and the Los Pinos water basin. And it is my hope that all of you share my concern and interest and willingness to act on implementing a water sustainability into our town comprehensive plan, land use code, and building codes. And I look forward to meeting with all of you, and maybe we can bring our minds together and see what we think. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Kat. Anybody else?
Brian Blanchard, 627 Louisiana Drive. Thank you, Kat Katzos, for that. Just a quick sidebar after listening to her. I don't know if any of you have seen the movie The Big Short. It's an interesting movie about the 0707 crash. And the guy who predicted that is incredibly smart, kind of quirky guy. Made, I think it was like $1.5 billion on his shorting the real estate market. It's interesting that about 2 years ago, he took all of his money and he is only buying one commodity right now, water. He's buying every bit of water rights he can buy. And this is the guy who predicted 07, 08 crash. So water is a huge issue. Good for Kat Katzos for looking at that from an outside perspective and helping us all understand that, including Jeremy and all the issues we're going to have going forward. More importantly, what I'd like to do is address the new board members, if I could, and I'll do this through Nicole, because I don't expect answers. I know the protocol doesn't allow that, but my questions or my comments are to the new board members and the old returning board members are, why are you on the board? Why have you chosen to volunteer? What's your vision for our town into the future? And what are your priorities for our town going forward? So hopefully Nicole can send that out to all of you and the new board members, and she knows how to get a hold of me if you want to respond to that. I would appreciate it. It's hard for us as the general public to know who you are. It's not the way that we can ask questions here. We understand that, but there are times when we'd like to know a little bit about the people that are representing us. With all the developments are on the horizon, and with new board members coming on, we thought it appropriate, this is my wife and myself, Julie Blanchard, to address and express our thoughts. As residents of Bayfield, we are hopeful that the various government entities that represent the town of Bayfield will approach each project with a very simple idea in mind. That idea is this project good for the town? And more importantly, is this project good for the citizens in our community? We are also hopeful that the different departments and boards will look at citizen and community involvement as a good thing. We hope that you do not see us, citizens, as a thorn in your side. For those that have volunteered to serve, we thank you and encourage you to set aside your agendas as best as possible. The town of Bayfield is about to change in a big way, and because you have volunteered to serve, you have the ability to direct that change for the good of all in our community. We hope that you will embrace good development and provide specific direction to all projects, developments, and developers that may come before you. I would ask that you look back on the survey from 2015 that the town initiated and paid for. That is all still very appropriate. Some things have changed in regard to our community since then. However, most of the priorities are still relevant today. And thank you for all the work you do. And in closing, I'd like to say, trustees is a derivative of the word trust. Trust is the reliance on the character, the ability, the strength, and truth of someone or something. One is which confidence is placed. A charge or duty imposed in faith or confidence or as a condition of some relationship, something committed or entrusted to one to be used or cared for in the interest of others. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to address the board? All right. Moving on to our agenda. Did everybody get a chance to look at the agenda?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Black.
Yes.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Joswick.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Politis.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, moving on to the minutes from the March 15th, 2022 regular meeting. Did everybody get a chance to go through those?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes dated March 15, 2022, regular meeting minutes.
Second.
All right. Roll call, please.
Trustee Black.
Yes.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Joswick.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Politis.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, at this time, I would like to have David, Josh, and Kelly come join me. In front of the room.
Yep, you still got staff.
Well, I want to say from the bottom of my heart, it's been an honor and a pleasure to have served these last couple of years with you. There's been a lot of great discussion. I would say, very constructive discussion the last couple of years. But the three of you, as far as, I mean, your institutional knowledge and your love for Bayfield goes beyond, you know, a lot of people in this community. And I don't expect to not get phone calls because you guys are doing your walkabouts and finding things that we should address on a daily basis. But, you know, this is a huge time commitment. This is a thankless job, and I really appreciate the time and energy and effort that you put in over the last however many years, whether it be the county appointments and the town appointments. But I do want to thank you for your time, and we will miss you. Josh, if you'll take yours.
Let's train a quick person.
We expect you to, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Fake news.
Fake news.
You guys can,
Don't be a stranger, David.
we'll see you. We'll see you around.
Well, I meant with me, not
Look at all those
necessarily
seats
with.
out there. Occupied.
It does not. Are you having the same problem?
It's squeezed in there barely.
Okay.
I'm like trying,
Like, just
for a
barely.
minute there, I was like, ooh, I'm like breaking it.
Squeezed in there just
Do we,
barely. Screeched even.
Want to talk about Resolution 512?
Yes.
We'll wait till David vacates the premises, but.
I'm literally like,
I miss you, man.
You gonna hang out, Dave? You gonna go to dinner?
This or no? Oh, yeah.
that's as good as it gets. Jeez, not get this one in.
Might have to have the shop
Like-
grind it down.
Your mind's kind of loose.
You, David.
It's just the holder.
I'm afraid I'm
That
gonna
one's
break
really
it.
loose. Mine's really loose.
It's the,
Yeah, it's
Okay.
the actual.
Just
yeah.
stick it on top.
Yeah.
Moving on. We have Resolution 512.
So Resolution 512 was adopted by the Board of Trustees on February 1st. The the main portion of it is the above recitals are incorporated in this resolution as findings of fact by the town board. The town clerk is hereby directed to cancel the April 5th, 2022 election and provide public notice of the election cancellation. The election of candidates is provided in CRS Section 3110-507 and subsection 2-62B of the Bayfield Municipal Code. Upon such cancellation, the candidates for such office as follows are hereby declared elected to 4-year terms effective April 5th. Trustee Brenda Moreland, Trustee Eli Luke, and Trustee Alexis Hartz. Upon such cancellation, the candidate for such office as follows is hereby declared elected to a 2-year term effective April 5th, 2022. Trustee Tom Awe. Tom Awe requested and verified his intent for a 2-year term, and the clerk determined the terms of office on Monday, January 31st, 2022. Effective date of this resolution upon adoption, which is February 1st, 2022.
All right, at this time, we will swear in our new trustees.
It's up to you.
Yeah, I guess we will. Photo op time.
So you don't have to remember. Okay. So you can read it. Well, me too. Can you hold mine? Okay. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I. I state your name.
I, Thomas Hall,
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado, and the ordinances of the town of Bayfield, Colorado,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado, and the ordinances of the town of Bayfield, Colorado,
that I will bear faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of the office to which I have been elected.
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of the office to which I have been elected.
I, Brenna Moreland. Well, I, Brenna Moreland. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado, and the ordinances of the town of Bayfield, Colorado,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado, and the ordinances of the town of Bayfield, Colorado,
that I will bear faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of the office to which I have been elected.
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of the office to which I have been elected.
Alexis. I state your name.
I, Alexis Hartz,
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado, and the ordinances of the town of Bayfield, Colorado,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado, and the ordinances of the town of Bayfield, Colorado,
that I will bear faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of the office to which I have been elected.
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of the office to which I have been elected.
Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Eli Lou,
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado, and the ordinances of the Town of Bayfield, Colorado,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado, and the ordinances of the Town of Bayfield, Colorado,
that I will bear faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of the office to which I have been elected.
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of the office to which I have been elected.
Welcome, everybody. And ready or not, we're going at it. Okay, moving on to department reports. Jeremy, do you have anything to add to your report?
No, I don't have anything to add. Just with our monthly department reports, you'll notice that we're providing some water production numbers and some wastewater flow numbers. Those charts are running a month behind. When we first started creating them, we were doing them in real time, and they were a little bit wonky in the middle of the month. And so we've dropped back 1 month to provide you a whole month snapshot of some of those numbers.
All right, does the board have any questions for Jeremy? All right. Our Marshall's report. Joe, do you have anything to add to your report? All right, does the board have any questions for Marshall McIntyre? All right, moving on to our Community Development Director, Nicole.
Good evening. Welcome, new board members. Nicole Killian, I'm a Community Development Director for the town. And I just wanted to point out a few things on my report. So FEMA updates. As you can see in the report, FEMA is updating their firm maps for La Plata County. And so what that means is we're going to be seeing some changes to our floodways and floodplain locations. And staff's initial review of the maps, which La Plata County has put together a database of the proposed new firm maps. It looks like our floodways in Bayfield haven't changed too much. There's some adjustments, but our floodplains, the 100-year floodplains, have reduced quite a bit in some areas. And so that's positive for property owners in the community who might have had to have extra flood insurance. Their rates hopefully will drop as part of this adoption. So right now, FEMA's in the process of having a review where you can challenge your property's data. So that's a 90-day period. That started at the beginning of March. And then from there, they may do some updates, present that back, and possibly in the fall, we might see adoption of the new maps, which then the town of Bayfield, through our land use code, will need to adopt after those FEMA maps are approved. So if you have any questions, please let me know on that. I did provide you a lot of links to information if you want to look that information up as well. And then also, as part of this stormwater coming into the town and working with Jeremy and Katie and Corey, we've been addressing some stormwater issues throughout the community. And so we're going to be doing some outreach in the next couple months. We want to reach out to HOAs about their requirements to maintain their storm detention ponds, as well as private property owners who have storm ditches on their properties, and just looking at working with our engineers, our town engineers, to come up with some best management practices that we can pass those on to community members so that they understand the requirements for their properties, and that their properties might impact storm further up, or stormwater further up. So that information will be coming out in the next couple months, and we'll make sure that we keep the board informed as we send that information out.
All right, does the board have any questions for Nicole? All right, moving on to our financial action items. Did everybody get a chance to look over the March 2022 disbursements?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I make a motion to accept the March disbursements as presented by the Deputy Finance Director.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Aw.
Yay.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Harps.
Yes.
Trustee Luke.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, moving on to our CML conference in Breckenridge this summer.
So these are not formal decisions, but I just wanted to make sure that you have kind of a thumbs up on the funding. There is budget to send the elected officials and staff to CML, which will be June. And in that, we also verify the reschedule of the June 21st meeting to June 20th, because typically we're traveling on that Tuesday, basically, to go to the CML conference. It makes it pretty harrowing when we have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and travel that early in the morning. So anyway, looking for a thumbs up, and also currently right now I am a CML executive board member, and my term is up in June, and I'm asking for your support to run again for another 2-year term.
You don't need us to vote on that, do you?
Just looking for a thumbs up. There's
Yes, ma'am.
okay.
That would be great.
And if any of you change your mind about CML, it's a very valuable conference, so if you want to go, let us know. All right, we have direction. Moving on to appointments. So,
there are some listed in the agenda of the items that are typical appointments. Keep in mind, there's things like the Southwest Broadband Committee that just got started. There's always going to be a committee that comes and goes, or it could come and stay. RHA was kind of defunct, if I want to say that. They have become more active, and currently their bylaws require that there's one elected official and one staff member that the board appoints. So there's certain appointments that you can do as a board. I would certainly appreciate your discussion. I believe from Lori, Trustee Cesaro, I heard that you'd like to be on the Pine River Senior Citizen Board. Just basically as a trustee that the board appoints to attend those meetings. I have not heard from anybody else. You will have to select one of you to be the ex officio on the Planning Commission. So,
do we have any thoughts or interest from any members of the board?
Why do we have 2 board members on the planning commission?
There's, the mayor has to be, and then there's the ex officio.
it's basically the bylaws and the code that the town adopted a long time ago.
Seems like when I was on the board the first time, we had one person going to those meetings. I don't know. Just
You
seems
can-
like we're taking a seat away from the public to me.
You can certainly recommend an ordinance, and that would have to require a change by ordinance.
That's just my personal opinion.
Nothing wrong with the personal opinion.
Is there an
We-
open seat as well right now? on planning
There's an
commission?
open seat, and we actually have 2 applications for that seat.
And we have struggled to fill.
Yeah, if we have
to fill
struggled.
With the
positions on
public.
Planning commission
Gotcha.
is a big issue.
Yeah, so I was looking at the planning commission meetings. Are they, was it 5 PM on Thursdays?
They're 6:30 on Tuesdays.
On Tuesdays, okay. I mean, I would volunteer to be on the planning commission. That's probably the only one that would work for me timing-wise anyway.
I was planning to open myself up for one of the Thursday meetings, either Southwest Transportation or RHA, and I feel like RHA is more important at this time with how many developments we have coming, so I feel like I'm gonna volunteer for that one.
Tree board.
Gonna do tree board? And then we also have TPR.
When do they meet?
TPR right now?
Yes, it's about a 2 or 3 hour meeting on Thursday, and the next one is the 14th of April.
It's during, I think it's midday too, isn't it?
Nine to noon, and of course, they've been on virtual here for a long time. I mean, I've been in another region's TPR meetings, and they go on for 4 or 5 hours, but right now they're 2 or 3. I think Josh Joshua emailed me, say, why are they having such long meetings? I don't know if he's still here.
You're not selling that one very well.
Well, I don't know if I want to go.
Be on the planning commission.
I don't see my ability to do it.
Yeah, I did.
So, but you sit in on those currently?
I sit in on those, and because it is regarding community development, I would certainly suggest that Community Development Director Killian and I both, if you would like to appoint us both, I don't mind being the staff and Nicole being the alternate. And then if you would ever be interest, be more than happy to send information out. I think what's most interesting about that is when the region, basically Region 5, provides their projects that they're doing currently. Those are pretty interesting.
Okay, so it looks like we have those pretty well filled. Did you want to talk about Resolution 450?
So what I would like to do is, the RHA does require a vote. The board has to vote on it. So this is what I have. I have La Plata County Alliance, Economic Alliance Board, Mayor Tarkington, and I don't mind being an alternate. The Southwest Regional Transportation Planning Committee would be Town Manager Sickles, and alternate would be Community Development Director Killian. Region 9 is Southwest Colorado Council of Governments. Keep in mind that the COG used to be a separate organization, and now they're going to be probably merging in the next year. Mayor Tarkington and I can continue that. Those can be some long meetings as well. But Pine River Senior Citizen Board, basically just to attend those meetings would be Trustee Zazzaro, RHA, Trustee Dallison, Tree Board, Trustee Hartz, Planning Commission, Trustee Luke, and Mayor Pro Tem. I haven't heard discussion, but I have Trustee Dallison.
I volunteered for that and happy to continue.
But I would need a motion and a second and a vote so that it's on the record.
All right, I motion that she is part of the planning commission.
So do you want us to go into,
It's up to you if you do them all at the same time,
but
or
are we going into that in the action agenda next section?
so each appointment will require. I think you need to have a vote. This is not necessarily part of the action agenda, but it is an action.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion to appoint those positions as discussed, as
So
stated.
moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Ogg.
Yay.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Luke.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
And so when we look at the liaison discussion, attached is Resolution 450. We basically, if anyone has a concentration in town that they're very interested in, we can look at assigning a liaison position to a board member as well.
I would like to continue what I'm doing.
So currently, right now, the current positions we have is Mayor Tarkington is the personnel liaison. I'm still the hire fire, but there are times where I like to consult with the mayor, and I think that's important to have that relationship to make sure that there's no big surprises for the mayor or the board as a whole. We have Trustee Dallison as the playground children, bike, pedestrian safety liaison. Well, we just COVID just created a completely different environment. However, our goal, we're looking at maybe updating our park plan. So I think we're going to get back there. I'm going to look at my Parks and Rec director.
Gonna get back on that.
Trustee Polides, she decided to be the liaison, but it doesn't have to be a liaison per year. You just appointed Trustee Hartz to do that. But, you know, maybe there's something else, Trustee Hartz, that you're interested in, that you would like to see, you know, in part of the operations. Trustee Moreland, the finance liaison, you kind of like that spot, so. Trustee Zazzaro, we're still working on the disaster emergency preparedness plan for a review, and I know that's still out there. I don't know what your opinion is the next year, but we still have quite a bit of review.
We got some work to do together.
Trustee Black, the reason that he was a waterline replacement liaison is that we had meetings with the contractor and the engineer on a weekly basis. And so he wanted to attend that. And I think it's very helpful to have, you know, that relationship. But obviously we've done with the water line. So maybe there's something else that somebody has interest in, or something that we haven't even thought about that you have interest. Trustee Walmsley at the time wanted to make sure that we had access to the river. And of course, he resigned not too long after the pandemic shut down and moved to another school district. So, but I certainly, if you don't see something here, you know, send it to me, and we'll certainly just send it on to the mayor and see if this is a liaison position.
Was that a liaison position for water and wastewater? Or?
Absolutely, that's certainly something that we would like to see interest in.
I currently work for the city of Durango wastewater plant, so I would be interested in that position.
Okay. And water and wastewater, both.
Water and
That's
wastewater.
awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, like I said, if you have something that just says, you know, I have an interest in this, you know, I'm going to say there's a lot of needs in town, so there's no shortage of things that you may have an interest. And really what we would do is just have that, you know, that connection. When something comes up, say, hey, you know, we're going to talk about bicycles, you know, contact Trustee Dallison. This is something that she has an interest in, so.
I have a question. What's the personnel liaison? What's your role in that?
So I just basically have weekly meetings with Katie. We talk about staff. I get invited to all of the staff meetings, the events, the socials.
So if Katie fires somebody and that person decides to go to the review board, then you would have to recluse yourself. But we're all supposed to be a part of that review board.
I mean, that would be a question for the attorney on.
Yeah, I'm not aware that we have a review board.
We had to do it before. I was on one.
We have the handbook has been updated. The handbook was updated 2 years ago. So there may be some modifications since that time.
Okay. I just want to make sure we don't have conflicts of interest where if someone has to act in the judicial manner that they're going to have a conflict.
Absolutely.
Well, and even if Ashley did need to recuse herself, then that's, you know, where I come in as the mayor pro tem, and we do have a quorum to still make a decision.
Yep.
So.
And 6 even votes.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Could come down.
Okay.
So there's no, I'm glad that we talked about water and wastewater, because that has been typically a liaison position that I've had in other communities, because it is helpful to have that. So anyway, we'll, if there's anything else that Trustee Aw or Trustee Hartz that you have interest in, please let me know. I'll be happy to.
Okay. Moving on to our action agenda, do we have any general public input pertaining to items 7A through H on the agenda? If not, we'll move on to Resolution 515, our appointments. And that is page 52 in your packet if you're
So Resolution 515 is the appointments. These are annual appointments for the town manager, the finance director, treasurer, deputy finance director, treasurer, the marshal, the town clerk, the deputy town clerk, the town attorney and prosecutor, and the municipal judge is a 2-year term. And like I said, Judge Davlin was just appointed in January after Jim Casey retired.
We have any questions or comments from the board? I would entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 515.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Luke.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, Resolution 516, our official agenda posting.
So the official location is the west door, and you'll notice that it's posted there 24 hours in advance of the meeting, which is typically over their Friday before the Tuesday meeting. That is the official location. Obviously, we send that out. It's on our website. So there's more places that we use technically, but if for whatever reason, of course, our website has not been really very stable here lately. So that is the place that you could come see, make sure that there's an official paper location.
All right, any questions or comments? I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve Resolution 516 regarding the official agenda posting location.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Luke.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, Resolution 517, our bank signature authorization.
I know that we've had town clerk Cathcart basically has been a signer. And in the last year, she was promoted to the finance director on a probationary period, and by August, she became your finance director after probation. And so it is not proper, and it'd be a separation of duties, that she shouldn't be creating checks, inputting invoices, and then signing checks. So currently, right now on this resolution is Mayor Tarkington, Mayor Pro Tem Dallison, Town Manager Sickles, Public Works Director Schultz, and that should be 4 people that if there's ever an issue, make sure that we have somebody to be able to sign checks.
Questions, comments?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve Resolution 517 regarding the bank signature authorization.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
I have one quick question, because I know that we have CDs at other banks as well. Is it completely separated?
There are no CDs.
You don't have
You
CDs
got rid of
anywhere
them?
else.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Luke.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, authorized park transfer to town parcel.
I may let Community Development Director Killian maybe kind of give an update on this. This is a park that the town has been maintaining. It sits between South Los Pinos and South Mesa Avenue, but it has never been deeded to the town or dedicated to the town.
Well, GIS up. So yeah, this park is part of the Mesa Development subdivision from the 1970s. And I think it was thought at that time it was dedicated to the town as a park, and it was not. And so recently the ownership came to town staff and said, you know, we've been getting inquiries from developers. They want to purchase this property. This was supposed to be a park. And so we are working with them to try and come up with a deed so that they can deed it over to the town. They've been exempt from taxes, so it has been treated like a park. It just never went through that formal dedication process. And so we're working with Town Attorney Goldman to work on the details to get that approved. And so really tonight we just need to get confirmation from the board that you would like us to continue with that process to get this piece of land dedicated as a town park.
For everybody's information, generally, when a developer or an owner wants to dedicate some property to the community for the public good, there's a dedication that often happens on the plat. And there's language that says this certain lot or property is dedicated for the public good to the town of Bayfield. That sentence was never on this plat in the 1960s. So what we're doing now is we are just crafting a deed for the owners to actually convey the property through a quitclaim deed, and then there would be language, reciprocal language, below the deed that actually states that the town of Bayfield accepts the dedicated property for the public. That is this park. That is literally noted as a park in the subdivision plat in 1964, but it was never dedicated.
And so the motion would give the mayor the authority to sign it for the town, accepting it as well.
All right, any other questions or comments?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize acceptance of the park deed transfer when the manner of the ownership and deed language has been completed, grantor has properly executed, and authorized Mayor Tarkington to execute as a grantee if required.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Aw.
Yay.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Luke.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, moving on to the plumber task order water modeling.
Trustee, were you a nay or a
Yay.
yay? Okay, sorry, my apology.
All right, plumber task order water modeling.
I'm going to let Public Works Director Schultz basically explain this. Obviously, there is concern about water resources, but there's also concern about water storage in our actually infrastructure.
So what you have in your packet is basically a task order for Plummer & Associates. They're the engineering company that holds our most current water model. There's been some concern as far as for water availability with the developments that we have on the horizon. And so what we're basically asking them to do is do a more in-depth review of our potable water storage capacity. So we'd like them to look at the maximum daily demand versus the potential for build out and see what if we have adequate water storage or if we may need to add, subtract, multiply, or divide. So that's basically what we're requesting right now is to allow Plummer to do a little bit more in-depth study for storage capacity for the town. This also will include fire flows as well.
Is there questions from the board?
Well, I have a question, because I know when we're doing these developments, we're going to want to have a water study done, and there's a cost associated with it that we could probably pass on to builders, but this probably wouldn't be passed on to the builders, so is it in our budget, or is this something that we would, in the future, be able to pass this cost on to them?
Well, we pass all expenditures in the water and sewer fund on to the customers that have that.
What I was trying not to do.
And we do have funding in here to provide this service.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
How was this engineering company selected?
They did the design and project management for our latest water line replacement.
Oh,
And so they have the most up-to-date water model. So
Gotcha.
it'll actually be more cost-effective for them to plug these numbers in and run that model rather than going out for RFP and having somebody recreate the wheel.
And our town engineer did suggest that don't give it to them because they would just charge us more to basically redo the whole thing.
Good questions. All right, if there are no further questions or comments, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve the $7,100 dollar account code 050-4-4134-0453 for the purpose to provide water modeling for the proposed developments.
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Aw.
Yay.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Luke.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, the Rock Shop temporary sewer tap disconnection.
So I wanted to make sure that the board, basically in the recommendation packet, there's basically the, kind of the staff report about why we believe this should have a temporary disconnection to the sewer system. At the time, the Board of Trustees agreed to put something together. That was back in February. And we have finalized this. The attorney has reviewed this, and Mary Alice Copeland is willing to sign this. And what this is the Rock Shop. There's a lot of history there, and it's actually on the historical trail for La Plata County. So we're asking for this authorization to carry through with this temporary disconnection for the Rock Shop. And I do believe in review of some of the charges for Gem Village. I think we're just going to probably do some review, just like we just talked about for the multifamily units as well. And probably more discussion will come at a later meeting.
Any questions or comments from the board? Any clarification or?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the document form to be provided to Mary Alice Copeland, and after her execution, authorize Mayor Tarkington to execute and staff to record the document and properly manage the account per the temporary disconnection.
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Aw.
Yay.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Luke.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, moving on to ordinance 473, park impact study.
Yes. Want to go ahead?
Go. There's a lot of pages there.
So as we've been doing some more housekeeping, we've come across a 2005 approval of park impact fees and in lieu dedication fees that were approved by the board, so the minutes are included in your packet. As part of that, an ordinance is usually adopted that sets that legal language into the land use code, and then a resolution sets the fee schedule, which can be amended from time to time. And in our digging, it's been determined that we do not have an ordinance or resolution for the adoption of the park impact fees and the dedication in lieu fees. And so we want to get those cleaned up. And I know there's been some questions about, do we want to increase those fees in the future? And I think that's something that we'll look at. We may, because it's 17 years old, the study, we may have to do another study before we do that. But we'll do some research. But right now, we really want to just do some of that housekeeping and make sure we have the ordinance and resolution in place. And so the difference between the two fees, the park impact fee, and this is really in the resolution, but the park impact fee is for every new single-family, multifamily dwelling that's approved. When they get their building permit, they would pay this fee, and it really goes to help maintain our existing parks and facilities, because they will be using those. And then the land dedication fee actually will put some code language in that will require developers to either dedicate parkland, a certain acre per unit, or pay an in lieu fee for that parkland. And so two different fees. And again, the ordinance creates the legal language, and then the resolution adopts that fee schedule.
Questions, comments?
You need two separate motions?
Yes.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 473 park impact study.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? Roll call.
Trustee Aw.
Yay.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Loop.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
And resolution 518, park impact fees.
Like to make a motion to approve Resolution 518, Park Impact Fees.
I'll second that.
All right, any further comments? Roll call.
Trustee Aw.
Yay.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Loop.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
A little housekeeping there. Moving on to board reports. Does anybody have anything to update? I've got everything this week, so. This was a pretty light meeting, but brace yourself for 2 weeks from now. And then just so you guys know, we do have computers if you need to get computers for,
Yeah, they're coming. We
Okay.
had some
we'll get you situated here.
issues. Yeah.
Delivery.
All right, we have Planning Commission April 12th and our next board meeting April 19th. Sir, any other comments or discussion?
Just welcome aboard all the newbies.
welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I will go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 7:33.
Hey.
Ow. Would like to exchange phone numbers though with everybody if that's cool.
Yeah, of course.
Holy moly, that was a quick meeting.
Yeah, that
That
really
was a lot
was.
quicker. I thought 9 o'clock maybe, you know.
Yeah, no.
Sometimes it is.
Don't get used to it.
Yeah.
Don't get used to it. It's not normally like that.
All right, it's 303 880 3905.
I'm on my way.
I would say the one thing that people do all the time when you're new is they hit the reply all.